Okay, I'm going to do a few of these with you now, and then you will finish up the rest after I finish this video, and I will check to make sure that the entire worksheet is done tomorrow. Remember that we're dealing with functions. In order for a relation to be a function, each input has to have exactly one output. So if I look at number 1 says which of the following shows a relation that is not a function? And I have 4 choices here. My inputs are the blue circles, my outputs are the green circles. Again, each input has to have one output. So smiley face is an input, it has one output, 8. Triangle is an input, it has one output, 1. Heart is an input, it has one output, 7. So choice 1 is a function, so I'm going to cross that off. If I look at choice 2, smiley face has one output. Triangle has 2 outputs. That's a problem. Remember, I said each input has to have one output, and the rectangle or the square has 2 outputs. So choice 2 is actually going to be our answer. But let's look at the rest just to see. In choice 3, smiley face has one output of 3. Square has one output of 8. Triangle has one output of 8. And heart has one output of 7. So that's a function. Choice 4, smiley face has one output of 8. Square has one output of 8. And heart has one output of 8. It's okay that they all have the same output because each one only has one output altogether. Looking at number 2. Number 2 says, given that the relation S, which of the following values of k makes S a function? So in order for this to be a function, again, what we have to remember, each input has one output. So if I plug a -2 in for the k, and I look at the rest of my values, I see that I have a -2, 3 right here. Well, in order for this to be a function, there's no way that k can be -2 because then I would have one input of -2 having 2 outputs, 3 and 1. So it can't be -2. So I'm going to look at -3 now. If I let k be -3 and I go through the rest of my values, I see I have a -3 right here. So that means if k were -3, -3 would have an output of 4 and 1, and that's not allowed. So it cannot be -3. Now if I choose 3, and I look at the rest of my points, I don't have 3 as an x value in any of my other points, so 3 is going to be okay. That's actually going to be my answer here. But let's just take a look at choice 4. Choice 4 is the number 5. So if I look at the number 5, I see I have a 5 already as one of the inputs, and its output is a -1. So there's no way I can put a 5 in for k and have an output of 1 as well. So that's why it would be choice 3. Looking at number 3, which of the following graphs is not a function? I'd like these because we can just apply the vertical line test. When you look at a graph, if you can draw a vertical line anywhere along the graph and it only hits at one point, it's a function. So no matter where I pick to choose to draw these vertical lines for choices 1, 2, 3, it's only hitting at one spot. But when I draw my vertical line on choice 4, the vertical line hits at 2 different spots, so this one, choice 4, is not a function. Looking at number 4, which of the following relations is a function? So if I go and look at all of these, again, in order for it to be a function, each input has to have one output. So I have inputs of, on choice 1, of 3, 5, 2, 1, and 5. So I have double inputs here. I have 5, 8 and 5, 9. I can't have one input have 2 different outputs, so it can't be choice 1. Moving on to choice 2, If I look at all my options there, I actually have a -2, -4, and a -2, -2. Again, my input of -2 has two different outputs, and that's not allowed. Moving on to choice 3. And I'm looking at choice 3, and I have all different inputs. So that means choice 3 is a function. And just to show why choice 4 doesn't work, choice 4, I have input of 7 for all of them, and the outputs are different numbers each time. And again, each input can only have one output, not multiple outputs. Number 5, is the relation shown in this chart a function? So my inputs are the x's, so I'm going to look at my x values. When I look at my x values, I do see that I have -2 repeat. -2 is right here, and it's also right here. It's allowed to repeat if the outputs are the same, but the outputs are not the same. So this is not a function. So we're going to say no, and we're going to say the input of -2 has two different outputs. Okay, what I'd like you to do at this point is to please finish up the worksheet. There are 10 questions altogether, so I did half of them with you already. You're going to do the other half for me, and I will check it tomorrow when you come into class.